So I'm noticing this has been popping up a lot. And before I get into it, hold on, let me get here. All right, before I get into it, I'm noticing, I will say this, Supergirl has some weird marketing because they keep promoting this. You don't need to look pretty. You could go through a rough patch. You can be gritty. You could be all that, which I'm totally cool with. And like the stuff with like the Stanley Steamer thing with Crypto, the milk bone, that makes sense because Crypto is the dog inside of the movie, and you know they do stuff with the dog. Now, if I'm understanding, Supergirl is, you know, drinking and stuff, so they're promoting her though with that makeup. I saw like a recent thing. I was like, wait, why are they doing the makeup? She's like, oh, look like Supergirl. I'm like, isn't this supposed to be a movie about being anti? Like establishment for what you consider the normal running female? Like you have to be pretty, you have to be done up, you have to be this, you can't look bad, you can't look like life is beating you down. Even though in her story it makes total sense because she's still dealing with the trauma and the effects of what happened with Krypton and losing her home. So that kind of endorsement deal, and I know they do endorsements, they make money, but that was just a little weird to me that they're promoting a makeup product because they're like, you don't have to be pretty. They talked about like they shot her movie where she wasn't wearing makeup and it wasn't about that and about no man, but then yet you're pushing a makeup product to say, well, you need to look like Supergirl, so put on makeup. I don't know, that was weird to me. Some of the stuff is weird, but anyway, that's just, I think that's just one of the weird marketing things. So this is something I've noticed has been happening, which is I'm also finding a weird trend. I have nothing against like the LGBTQ community, but why is it every time there's a project and it doesn't have anything to do with LGBTQ or something like that, they try to put it on there? So like I remember, now this one may have had it a little bit, Agatha all along. They're like, it's the gayest Marvel project ever. Okay. Now that one at least had, you know, Wiccan in it, a few characters that were part of the LGBT community. So I get where they were coming from. I don't know why that was promoted. I also find it weird if you're like, this is the blackest project ever. That's just me. But there was at least a connection there. But I remember they did something with the Marvels and Captain Marvel, and then they pushed it and they were like, well, or, you know, how are these queer icons or something like that? And I'm like, And like I said, I'm just questioning, why would Captain Marvel be a queer icon if she's not queer? And they kind of do the same thing with Supergirl. And they kind of put Millie in an interesting spot here. Now, to me, don't get me wrong, now if you have someone like Dreamer, yeah, Constantine, I can go with. A lot of people don't, you know, some people don't realize that Constantine is bi. Jonathan Kent, if you do a movie with him and he's bi, like, okay, like, you know what I mean? Harley Quinn, when I've seen him ask, I remember asking Margot, I remember someone did something, I think they asked her, that made sense. Harley Quinn is a bisexual character. But it seems like every time, at least this is just how I'm seeing it, it seems like every time there's a female lead or something like that, they try to say, well, they're a queer icon. And I am not aware of Supergirl being a queer icon. The only comic I can think of recently where they're doing a queer thing is with Wonder Woman because of, I think Dark Knights of Steel. And Wonder Woman and Supergirl, I think, are getting together in there for that particular universe. I know, Wiz David writes Absolute Wonder Woman. She says she writes her as a lesbian character, but I don't see it. But okay. But that's one I definitely can say, Dark Knights of Steel. And also there was a little hint in the Supergirl show when she met Batwoman. There's a little bit of a hint of something. So I'm not like saying it couldn't be, but just canonically from what I know of the character in main universes and things like that, she's not a part of that community. So I find that a little interesting. Let me see here. I just had it up. Okay, so the interviewer goes, and there's also a second part of this, because then there's also people that I'm seeing where they're like, well, why can't you have this or something? So some observations, basically, we'll call this video. During the Supergirl press tour, a journalist asked actor Millie Alcock, over the years, many fans have embraced Supergirl as a queer icon. What do you think it is about Kara that inspires that kind of connection? Now, before I go into what Alcock says, I find that weird because I don't know of that. Now, like I said, if you're in the comments and you're like, yo, she's totally a queer icon, yo, please tell me. But I've seen Wonder Woman do it more, like get a little bit more. I've seen other, but I haven't really seen Supergirl get that. Like, I know for her show, and that could be from the show, because like what they did with her sister Alex, that was actually to me, even though the ending kind of got weird when she did the not without my permission to a white Martian villain. I'm like, he's a villain, why does he care about your permission? But so that was just weird. The writing got really weird there, to say the least. But Alex's storyline, I actually really liked her storyline, like how she was like dating and she kind of embraced in the awakening. I wish they would have did Tim Drake's story like that, because her story was really profound, like how she came out and realized that she was like a lesbian and stuff, and she got with the detective who I really liked. Her love interest was in there and they almost got married. So like, to me, that was very strong. That I could see where maybe, but that's not Supergirl. But Supergirl was very embracing, and so was Martian Manhunter. So maybe that's why I said I'm not saying it's like, oh my god, this is the same chronology, but I don't know of this. But anyway, I thought Alcock's responses were fine. Alcock responded that she was honored by the connection, noting that Kara doesn't live inside the binary of what we think a woman should be. Okay. But then I'm like, but then you promote makeup and say be pretty. So that's still weird to me. But I get the concept. I'm digging it. She was saying something on here saying woman, because she can be strong, she can be tough, she can be messy. Now this all fits with the Supergirl dealing with that. I like that she's going through some stuff, and she can go through some stuff. I think that's pretty cool. She specifically pointed out that she resonates with the character core traits. So she's saying she goes against the grain, she can be messy and stuff. Now, she said something about breaking the binary. Alcock stated that the character operates outside traditional gender expectations, noting that she would just do what she'd want to do in that regard. I think that's pretty cool. It's promoting that, hey, just woman, man, do your thing. Do you. Kind of boo-boo. Now, no traditional romances. This is the one that's getting a lot of heat, and that's why they're going to talk about that in a minute. She praised the upcoming film for not centering around a love interest or a male lead, allowing Kara's narrative to focus on personal resilience. I have seen some people have some issues about that, and I'm like, to me, that part, we'll get to that. And lastly, the bisexuality. Now, this is the part I said, that's more of the actor, I think, kind of smoozing the person a little bit. When pressed, because they did press her on whether the character explicitly identifies as LGBTQ+, Alcock playfully answered that the character would probably go both ways. I don't like when they do that to actors, because the actors may not be hardcore. Like Jason Momoa is a hardcore fan. He knows what Lobo's like weapon is. It's the gut. Drawing. He knows the bite. But not everybody's like that, so I don't like when they pressure that response, because if the person says, well, no, I don't think so, they'll vilify them. So it's kind of like a catch-22 situation. I don't like that. Now, when she said, I think what makes this film beautiful is it's not centered around a man, it's not centered around love at all. I don't know. She'll probably go both ways, Alcock said. Now, this is someone paraphrasing. This was Shine Comics. I'm using yours as an example, sir, because I've noticed some jerk behavior lately, so you just happen to win the lottery on whose thing I'm using, because Lauren Cohen said something. Not Lauren Cohen. Lauren Chen, I think her name is. Like, she was like, why can't we have love? Same thing with Snow White. Snow White didn't make sense about not having a love story. It's about her power, because Snow White's a love story. But then he puts on here, are you tired of movies being made by people who hate you for being born a man or being born white? Firstly, she never said anything about being white. So I'm already looking at Shine like, what are you doing? Secondly, considering Supergirl is like, main character, it's like a little obvious. I kind of took it more like, hey, we're happy to have another female lead superhero film, because we haven't actually had a lot, if you honestly think about it. I mean, we had like Wonder Woman, and we had Captain Marvel, which was the Marvels. That was a better movie. Black Panther 2, the fantabulous, whatever, a Harley Quinn movie with Birds of Prey. So we've had a few. Now, what I find interesting is that, and I've seen some people go, see, she hates men. Like, why is your take that? That's like saying like Spider-Man's movie is not centered around, a woman. Or no, I got one for you. Logan's not centered around a love story, and it's not centered around a woman. It's just centered around Logan, and then has the cast and things. So it's kind of like saying the same thing if he says, "Oh yeah, this is not centered around a woman." That's how I view that. But I think it's more of, hey, we have another female lead superhero in a movie, and I don't think that's a bad thing. But it's like I said, Lauren Chen seeing it, other stuff. Like, why do you take it there? And also, I'm actually happy that this movie doesn't have a love story. Too many, because some people go, well, what's wrong with having a love story? Too many superhero things have love stories. Think about it. Why is it all, even the comics don't do this? You don't believe me? Iron Man 1, 2, 3 had a love story in it. Spider-Man, love story. Out of the 3 Wolverine movies, 2 of them were centered around a love story. The first movie, the second movie, the X-Men movies, because he was stuck on Jean Grey, as long as Cyclops and all this stuff. Superman. Batman 89, Vicky Vale. Batman Returns, Catwoman. Batman 3, the man was falling for a therapist. Like, bruh. You know what I'm saying? Christian Bale is one. Rachel. Like, and then the third movie, Catwoman. Like, if you start really thinking about it, and I get it because it's an easy relationship thing, but how many movies don't have that love story in it? And it's not an ensemble thing, because then you can kind of get around that if you think about it, right? So it's going to try to stand on its own feet by just telling a story of a journey of a person dealing with a situation. And even though this movie is probably going to do bad, I think more films need to get away from the love story trope. That and the hurting the dog or animal trope. That's starting to get old too. But I do. Like, if you really think about it, so many superhero films have that. And it's like, we don't need a love story every single time. Sometimes it could be a character study of just the person and what they're dealing with. But yeah, it just, I find it interesting how many people are trying to find reasons to like not like this on top of what else is. I mean, when I see the movie, we'll see. I'll review it, give it a fair shot. If it sucks, it sucks. If it's great, it's great. But I'm really noticing, and it's really annoying. It kind of reminds me of the God of War Love Faith thing. They never said they're going to stop making Kratos games. They never said they're not going to make an Atreus game. Yet you got a bunch of these fools coming out going, why are they replacing Kratos? I'm like, they can do a spin-off game. I don't even like being this dude because it annoys me because there's misandry out there and stuff. But that's straight up misogynist. And I don't even like using that word like that. Like, dude, stop with the woman thing. It's dumb. If you just don't watch it. Don't play it. You don't have to. But that's just saying a woman lead. That's not a good criticism, especially if it's not a woman just taking over the role like what happened with Indiana Jones or something like that, where it felt forced. It's a spinoff. This is just another movie inside of James Gunn's universe. Like I said, I'm more excited to see Lobo, but I definitely want to see Supergirl. I want to see how they did it. I'm hoping I enjoy it. I'm going to be the judge for myself, and I'll share what I feel with you. If you guys like it, whatever, I just share my opinion. You don't have to agree with my opinion. But one of the things I'm really noticing, and like I said, Shine falls in the category of The Usual Suspects and Lauren Chen and several other outlets. And the reason why I got some point on Shine also because I saw what he did to that Starscream dude, and that was garbage. You threaten ice on him. That was pure trash. And you don't throw hands. Like, dude, like, and you were wrong about Superman versus Billy Butcher. You used the old comic and then cut stuff around. You didn't even use the part about Muhammad Ali and Superman planning that fight or something and saying, if I trained with somebody to LeBron, it doesn't mean I'll be good. If you train as a fighter, you are going to be a better fighter than a person who doesn't train. who's a brawler. That's just a stupid take. And stop calling everybody LARPers because they don't agree with you, or tourists because they don't agree with you. No, sometimes you are wrong. Sorry, I got off a tangent on that. I meant to do a video about that, but that actually really annoyed me, those last couple things. But anyway, back to the main point at hand. I don't know. I think it's a little weird that they push the LGBTQ community thing on a character just because they're a female, or on a character because of that. And like I said, Supergirl did have a lot of LGBTQ stuff in the TV show, so that probably is where it could have come from. I just haven't seen it. That's why I said, hey, if you're in the comments, you're like, yo, I'm totally here, point me in a direction. How I see it is, they need to promote more of these people from these communities into these movies, into these medias, into these things, because there does seem to be a thirst for it, and I think it's all for it. Definitely do a Dreamer. Definitely make sure people understand that Constantine is bi, same as Deadpool, or Deadpool I think is pan, if I remember correctly. I think Deadpool's pan. But yeah, like, I'm like, it's okay to promote these characters, but can the media stop doing this thing where it's a character and then they immediately, especially, and I've noticed this very specifically women, they'll go, she's a letter community icon. Why? And then they put the person on the spot. Like, I get you're trying to get the hot take, and if the person says it bad, you'll get the hot take and the clicks. But can we be a little bit more respectful about the situation at hand and the community? I don't see Supergirl as that. And Millie Alcock said, I should probably swing both ways. And I think that was her trying to have a safe answer. But, I mean, they could do that in this universe. It is a different universe. So if they do decide to do that, because she's not showing love interest, I mean, they could. But it just seems to me that there's a thirst for the media to have queer icons. Maybe they should start to promote and push these characters, but push them properly. Give them great stories. Same thing with the comics and everything too. Just don't put who they sleep with, their LGBTQ thing first. Make them awesome, give them awesome stories, and they just so happen to be. Like, Miles Morales is a great character. Does his environment inspire some of his story? Yes. But I'm talking about for the Spider-Verse movies. He's a good story first, a Black Latino character second. Yes. Is it ingrained in the character? Yes, it is. But the story should come first. And that's the same thing with LGBTQ. If you want to give a character a love story with a same-sex person, fine. But make sure the story is great. And then just have that be extra. And that's one of the things I think they do mess up. When they get their hands on an LGBTQ YA guy character, they focus specifically on that. They don't, like, the fact that they had a Superman comic with Jonathan, he's like, he's a Superman that doesn't punch. No, I want to see Superman punch stuff. I want to see him do Superman stuff. If he has his boyfriend, that's just cool. Great. Okay, that's just extra layers to a story. That shouldn't be the story, because I'm not reading this comic as a slice of life comic. And with that, I guess this is just a rant about, I would like for them, I just find it a little disrespectful. I would like it to be more respectful, that you should say, hey, more characters should be this way and stuff like that, and not putting an actor on the spot that may not know much about the character to try to get him a gotcha moment on either side. And I really am tired of the people that just because they don't like a specific thing, like Shinem or Snyderverse and all these other things. And I don't have a problem. I like the Snyderverse, but I'm also open to new stuff, iterations of the characters. I'm like, just because you don't like it doesn't mean that you should be ripping this thing. And like I said, does Millie said some off the wall stuff too? Yes, I'm not ignoring that with the Christian dad thing or stuff. But this was one of those things where I'm like, yeah, the movie's not centered around a man, because a lot of superhero films are centered around a man, or is them chasing a man, in a love story. This is not that kind of movie, and I think that's a good point to make. But the other stuff, I'm like, you're trying to do a gotcha. So that's just me. That's how I feel about it. Like I said, just some kind of random thoughts on it. Tell me what you think. Did you find it insulting? I didn't. Like I said, when I review the movie, I'll probably see it over the weekend. Let you know what I think of it. But like I said, it's just a ramble. Geek Protagonist, you stay safe, you stay healthy, stay real, and I'll see you.